Welcome everyone to Algerian Black Pearl. Today we're here with Huria and special guest David McAlinden. Hello guys.
Hi, how are you everyone?
You guys are doing great.
Dave?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. It's really nice for you guys to call me.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I'm really excited for this and I'm really happy to have the chance to talk to you because you're one of my favorite poets.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered.
So, Dave, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who's Dave? What does Dave do?
Oh, well, I'm 33 years old. I'm from Oregon, in a small town in Oregon in the United States. I currently live in South Korea. I'm an ESL teacher, and I've been writing, performing poetry performing since I was about 20, and writing since I was like a teenager.
Okay, that's great. That's really awesome. Tell me, Dave, I just want to know something. I know you're a musician too, but why poetry? What did interest you in poetry, and more specifically slam poetry?
Okay, well, I've been writing poems since I was little. My mom got me interested in it. She was a big Emily Dickinson and Yeats fan, and the size of the poems made it like a lot less intimidating for me to read. So like I would be like leafing through my mom's poetry books, and she noticed this, and then she bought me an Edgar Allan Poe book.
He's
into
my favorite poet.
Yeah, that's great. So after that, I was kind of hooked. And I got into slam in my early 20s for a couple of reasons. I was at school studying writing, and I found this slam thing. And it was like this platform that had an audience that you didn't have to pester to get you to listen to your stuff, which is great self-esteem when you write something good. And it's kind of an invaluable editing tool for when you don't write something good. It can be very humbling and very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
The second reason I got into it is that it kind of made me a better public speaker. I learned some stage presence and some style and voice, and those in turn also kind of informed and colored the writing, which I was pursuing in kind of a productive way. But the most important reason I got into it is just because it was really fun. It was really, really, really fun, and it made me feel good.
It is. I mean, just watching it is fun and makes you like, I can do this shit. I need to do this. And yeah. I can only imagine how it feels to perform it and just be there.
The communities there were really encouraging as well. They're really warm and welcoming. I used to read before I found slams, I used to read at open mics in like these dingy bars that were like filled with old drunks and vets, and you'd get heckled, and it was really loud, and you were always speaking over other people. It was very frustrating, and every other writer there just wanted to read and not listen or talk to you afterwards. Everyone was really kind of competitive, even though it wasn't a competition. So it was kind of a discouraging and toxic atmosphere. And then I found slam, and everyone was just so welcoming and so present and wanted to listen to you. And it just kind of took off from there, and writing style changed and points of view changed. And I met more people that influenced me, and it was always a very positive thing.
That sounds great. Was it your start at Eugene's?
No, I didn't start at Eugene. That was the first team I was ever on. Like, because you go compete through slam seasons, kind of like a sport, because it is a competition, and then at the end of the season, like, you accumulate points, and then you compete against like kind of the top scorers of the season, and then the top 4 people become a team, and then you go to something called the National Poetry Slam, or you decide just to go and do like, you know, different shows as a team somewhere else, and that happens like once a year. But yeah, my first slam was in a place called Ashland, and this place called Mobius. I just remember being very, very dark. This dude came on, and it was like the first slam poem I ever heard. This is before like you could find slam poetry on the internet. So it was so foreign to me and so weird. I was like, because the school I went to was like a Shakespeare school. So there was like just tons of performance people all over the place. And the town in Oregon called Ashland has a massive Shakespeare festival. So it's filled with actors. And this one guy who was an actor in the Shakespeare Festival, who also happened to write poems, came up and did this piece, and I had never heard anything like it ever. And I was just like, I want to write like that. I'm going to try my hand at this. So I did, and then just kind of went on from there. And then I traveled up to Eugene because there was another slam up there. I could like do a slam in Ashland. I could drive my truck up to Eugene and do a slam there, and then drive like a little farther north. Those were like my weekends.
This sounds like an artistic adventure. Hopefully, yeah. So moving on to our next question. Do you wait for inspiration to write? Like, this is the question that most of our fans asked me. Like, since you are professional poet somehow, do you wait for inspiration, or you just oblige yourself to write, or how does it work?
Well, I wouldn't call myself a professional poet. Thank you for referring to me that way. It's very nice. But as far as inspiration goes, it's very sporadic. There's a quote about inspiration that I think it's Jack London, who says that you can't wait for inspiration to happen. You have to go after it with a club. And there's something to that. Like, sometimes things come to you and you have the good enough sense to write them down and then develop them later. And sometimes you just have to like kind of grind it out. Like, you have this like nugget of an idea, and you write it down, and you just have to kind of like grind away at it. It's rock. You have to get to like the core of it, and it usually ends up being something else, or not anything at all. So I think inspiration really comes from how much you work at something, rather than like, you're kind of pulling it out of the ether. I hope that makes sense. I don't really know. I don't really know where poems come from. I must be thinking something subconsciously. I try to write something out, how I'm feeling, and then I whittle that down. Hopefully it's something that is relatable and concrete. For the most part, I think it's like maybe every 100 poems I write, I get one good one. I think it really has to. I know that's not like a very fantastical answer or anything, but that's how I work. I guess like the core idea, what I was talking about was that it doesn't kind of like come out of the ether. It just, you work at it, and then maybe something comes up. But as far as being inspired, I think it's just being engaged, listening, trying new things, having new experiences, and then reflecting on those, and then working at understanding those as hard as you can.
Amen. I mean, this is why I like Dave. He always finds the right stuff to...
Hello?
I guess she disappeared again. Well, in the meantime, I can ask you some, mind if I ask you a few questions? Our fans have been asking these questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Mumma Mehdi asked, can you please ask him what made him get into writing? And what is usually the process to become a good writer? Some tips, maybe?
Oh, okay. I got into writing because I felt dumb all the time, and I wanted to understand things. When I first started writing things, I wrote to try to understand the things that I didn't understand. And as far as like tips to becoming a good writer, like, I don't know, how do you become a good basketball player? You just shoot a basketball, all work. And I don't write enough. I really don't. I'm very lazy. But yeah, that's my tip, is just to write, and don't care about what anybody thinks. Don't ask friends and family what they think about your writing. They'll give you a biased response. Just write, and try to perform it. If you don't, or read it somewhere to some strangers, or submit it somewhere.
I think the best way, yes, is to submit it to strangers and put it anywhere like that, because people, when they don't know you, they will judge you objectively.
Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of the time your friends they'll evaluate the work in regards to what they know of you, instead of just evaluating the work. I once in a while you'll find somebody who is really good at evaluating your work, who you're to. Like a friend of mine who is very encouraging to me, and a dear friend of mine who's also a writer, very, very good, who I used to be a roommate with. If I would give him something to read, and sometimes he'd just hand me a lighter to suggest that I burn it.
Oh, why is that?
So sometimes you get like a balls to bones friend that will tell you if something sucks or if something's really good, and you can depend upon them. But they're one in a million, really. So I would just say, like, if I have any advice to someone who wants to become a writer, it's just to write as much as you can and be as honest as you can. Write what you want to hear, not what you think other people.
That's awesome. We have a lot of another question from our fan Zulekha, who says, do you remember the first thing that you ever wrote?
Oh God, no. Like, I have no clue. I have like a recollection of like chicken scratch when I was like 10 years old. And it was like after my mom had given me the Edgar Allan Poe stuff, and it was just trying to be dark. I think I was just probably ripping off the Raven, to tell you the truth. But I think the first thing I ever was proud of. Oh man, I really don't know. I can't.
What about the first thing that you performed?
Answer the question. Sorry?
What about the first thing that you performed?
The first thing that I performed was a poem called "I Feel So Stupid Sometimes," and that'll never see the light of day. Yeah.
Can't you just say it now here?
To tell you the truth, I don't remember it, and I don't have it around. I mean, it was so long ago. I remember where I was. I remember I was at in a very small library in a very small town, and I had a very small voice, and I felt very small and embarrassed. But it was something like a milestone that I wanted to get past. But not everyone wins their first fight, especially against themselves. You just keep going. I will remember. I remember the feeling of doing it. I don't remember the poem itself, though.
Oh, that's too bad. But yeah, remembering the feeling is the best part of it, because probably you were stressed. Were you though?
Oh, I was nervous wreck, yeah.
It's okay, but listen, I need by the end of this interview, you will perform something for us. Is it a deal?
I don't really have anything on hand, and I didn't prepare anything. So I can't really, oh man, I wish I had something for you. I guess, like, as we are talking, I guess I can sift through some stuff and maybe try to find something. I can't promise anything.
It's okay. If you find something, just tell me. Okay?
Even
so
a little,
moving
like,
on.
freestyle? I'm sorry.
Oh God, I can't freestyle. It would be awful.
No, you can't
awful.
freestyle poetry. It's really, really hard.
No, it would be like a bad version of House of Pain. No, I couldn't do it. No way. No. I made you a video.
Yeah, and that was great. And actually, our fans are going crazy for it, because first when you sent it to me, I literally teared up because it was so great, hoping for honey. And we had a lot of questions from that video. Like Hadia says, I'd love to know what inspired you to write this masterpiece.
That's a 2-minute segment of a 4-minute poem, and it is literally about moving around and not knowing what you want to do, and trying to let go of regret.
Oh,
there's a line in it that it's like some regretful devil trying to bend his pitchfork back into a harp, and a lot of it
exactly.
is just like, it was like me just trying to get through, like, how am I gonna let go of who I used to be and become who I want to be, or embrace who I am. That's basically what that poem is about. And that took the whole poem, the entire thing. It was originally called Sound Test, which is the formation of it. And that took I don't know. I've been like writing and rewriting that one for like almost a year, about a year now.
Okay. Actually, that part of Some Regretful Devil, we had a question from Jude, who said, I just want to know at the end of it, what did he do with the devil? Did he fight it? Did he win? Or did he just realize that it was him all along?
No, it's me. I'm the regretful devil trying to bend his pitchfork back into a harp. That's the point. I'm the cocky kid chucking rocks at a hornet's hive hoping for honey. Yeah. It's kind of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's just dealing with my own manic tendencies and mistakes I made in the past.
Amen. I mean, what is the past without inspiration? It's all about it. What's the point of living stuff without letting it inspire you? Next question. This is from Nina, who said, do you keep in mind the audience you are addressing in the process for your writings, or do you just deliver the idea or the feeling you want to transmit?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. I don't really perform anymore to audiences. I haven't really had the opportunity. When I move to New York in a couple months, I'm going to really get back into it, have thrown myself back into it. But if you are, I mean, you should be mindful of your audience, especially like the energy in the room. But when you're writing, I don't think, I mean, marketers write for an audience, TV writers write for an audience. When poets start writing for an audience, I think you stop becoming, I don't want to say that. That's not right. I was going to say artists, but you end up pandering if you write for an audience. I guess that makes sense. If you don't, if you're writing for somebody else's point of view, then you're not writing for your own point of view, and I guess that's a form of dishonesty. But if you are approaching an audience that you connect with, and the audience connects with you through your own honesty, like that is fantastic. That's the goal. So you have to. I think you just try to be. I guess how do I say this? Just honest with yourself when you're writing, and I think I said before, like you should write what you want to hear, what you want to read, instead of what you think other people should read, because then you're just reiterating content that is already out there. You don't want to be like, it's you don't want to be a band on a mixtape that's covering the same song over and over again just because it does well, I guess. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm not doing a very good job.
It does. I think all our audience right now should grab a paper and a pen and start, all the writers who want to write, and just start taking advice, because you're giving actually really great advice without even knowing it. And thank you for this. Actually, I'm learning from you right now.
Okay, well, that's very nice of you.
Next question is from Nina again, who said, do you ever had a stage in your life where you stopped writing for a long period of time? If yes, can I know how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I've quit doing this several times. What do you mean, how would I deal with it? Like, how did I get over it and start writing? I think just traumatic events in life or inspirational events in life, like, kind of cause you to do it. It's just, I always quit when I have a dormancy in my life. So when not a whole lot is going on, just kind of going through the motions. I'm working and going home and having a drink and watching Netflix and waking up and doing it all over again. Usually when things become rote, is when I don't have much to write. And I guess the way that I would get out of that would be to get itchy feet again and go somewhere else and be confused and try to figure things out that I don't understand, either about myself or the world around me. But I stopped for like a good 2 years. I didn't write anything.
Oh. Yeah. And was it easy to get back? Like 2 years are a long time.
Yeah, no, I just started doing it one day again.
It just came back.
Yeah, just started doing it. I think it just came out of like being stressed out and just needing something to do, having an outlet, positive, healthy, creative outlet. Yeah. And then that's when I started picking up music. It was around that time. Oh,
let's talk a little bit about that music. What made you like interested in music? And I like how you play guitar. You're good.
Oh, I'm not a musician by any stretch of the word. Me claiming to be a musician is about as legitimate as Ivanka Trump's punk phase. It would just be insulting. So I play a little bit of guitar, and I am getting better at it as I practice, but I'm not a musician. My cousin Jenna, she's a musician. My friend Noah, he is a musician. But I just tinker around it, and I think it accompanies what I do well. I like to play around with a looping pedal and a guitar, and it's fun. But I would never like say that I'm a musician. But I do enjoy playing music, and I started this habit of buying lots of guitars. I just gave away 4 guitars in my apartment right now.
I mean, in hoping for honey, you composed that music, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It was an original one.
Yeah.
So you're a musician. That makes you automatically a musician. I'm interested in knowing. Sorry?
No, go on.
Okay, I'm interested in knowing what got you into bottom poetry in first place, and why did you choose If I Was God to perform in bottom poetry?
Button. Oh, I was at the National Poetry Slam in 2013 in Boston, and our team, our Portland Poetry Slam, got to the semifinals, and I performed that during the semifinals. I didn't choose to perform that for Button. I don't think anyone chooses to perform anything for Button. They go to different festivals like National Poetry Slam, and this was the first one where they recorded. So I was part of the first round, I think, of poets that they put up on Button before they kind of found their mission and what kind of content they like to put out there. And I think Dylan, was it Dylan Garrity or Sam Cook? I think it was Dylan. Dylan emailed me and said, we recorded your poem. Can you kind of sign the rights to it, I guess, over to us because we want to put it up on our page? And I was like, yeah, sure. That's awesome. Cool. And then, a couple of weeks later, I had all these views, and I was like, oh my dear, my stars. Oh, that's awesome. Great. That's great. And then I started getting messages from time to time, like from lovely people such as yourself. But I've never had anybody ask me to do a radio show. That poem, though.
So that's the first. Yay, we got the honor.
You got the first one. That poem, though, you go through several rounds at National Poetry Slam, and you can't repeat poems that you've done in earlier rounds. And I was just out of poems, really. Yeah, like you come with like a list of what you can do, and it might fit the room, it might not fit the room. But the one that I did, it's called Belt, was in an earlier round, and it wasn't recorded, and they recorded If I Was Your God, and that's what ended up going up on Button Poetry.
Speaking about belts, there's a part of it that really got to me, which is sometimes darkness. I think God covered us with it to put a space between himself and failure. Like, this part got to me in so many different ways, and I would love to know, how did you get the inspiration to write that, or what were you thinking? I don't know, just what made you write such a great...
I had moved back home, and I hadn't been home for a really long time. That poem is very hyperbolic, I want to say, first off. The town really isn't that bad. It really isn't. It's not. It's just when I came home, it just struck me very strange that a lot of my friends that I went to high school with had gotten like really heavy into meth. And I had a couple of them, and I was like, God, jeez, this is not good stuff. And then a couple of my friends had committed suicide, and there was just some weird dark things that when I came home I was exposed to that I didn't really know beforehand. And then I added some things that had happened that were weird in that town from growing up. There was like a double murder on our beach, and it was really sad. I mean, it was a very small town I grew up in. So there's just weird stuff, and it kind of persists that it has a little bit of a drug problem. I think it's switched to heroin now, though, which is it's less public than meth, because meth heads are out and doing stuff, and heroin addicts tend to kind of chill and stay home. You don't get as much of it. That poem, that line in that poem that you mentioned, it was just it rains all the time where I'm from. It's in a temperate rainforest, basically. So it rains like 9 months out of the year. Some years are less rain than others, some years more than others, but it dumps down all the time and you get used to the rain. And even when in the nice days, when it's supposed to be like a nice fall day, it's just, overcast and marine layer. And it just looked like, some estranged creator kind of like, I don't really like what I did here, and throw a blanket over it so they don't have to look at it. That's where that line kind of came from.
I'm even more in love with this line right now. I mean, after knowing the story back of... sorry, I'm...
So complimentary. Bless your heart.
I'm speechless, literally. Okay. This is kind of weird for me.
I kind of want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
So,
sure.
is life like in, Korea? And is this, the first Asian country or should I say, another country? Is this the first country outside of the U.S. that you've lived in? And, how is life like?
Well, I've lived here off and on since about 2011. like I'll do a year and then I'll go travel for a while, then I'll do a year and I'll go travel for a while, or go back to school or do something like that. Korea is interesting. It's hard to answer such a general question about such a specific place. In a unique place like Korea, like how is life? How is life to me is different than how is life for a Korean. So if you see a foreigner here, they're usually one of two things. They're usually in the military or they're usually an English teacher. Most of my time is spent working, and the other part of my time is kind of spent with either alone or with the friends that I've made here, who are all in as well. And a lot of it is just kind of, I don't know, the food's great. There's not much of music culture here. It's all K-pop, so it's very, that's the appropriate for that. yeah, it's all of that. And I mean, it's just like an over-sexualized music industry where they've got 5-track albums and they disseminate this kind of overt caricature of Western culture to children, and then they kind of like adopt subliminally those values. I have some gripes with it, but there are a lot of wonderful things about Korea. People are very nice, very welcoming. They're very interested, and you can always have a dialogue. But it's given me a lot, but it's also made me appreciate what I left. Well, I guess that's the best I could probably answer that question.
I don't know.
Too specific.
Oh, well, I mean, I've heard when I asked that question, I meant I know a lot of people that live in like Asian countries, such as Japan, China, Korea, and all that. They said that it's like very lonely.
I mean, it's wherever you go, there you are, right? So it's usually not the place; it's usually the person when it comes to the loneliness. I'm not very lonely here. You can always meet people if you try. I've got to make some friends out here in the span that I've been out here. It's the only Asian country that I've lived in, but I've been to a lot of other Asian countries. Some are more fun than others, some are more livable than others that are more fun than others. So it's a mixed bag, and you learn the customs and you take it in stride. There's always conflicts, there's always honey pits and pitfalls, and it just kind of depends on you to how you process the information, how you react.
I see. Yeah, so thanks. Take the floor, Hori.
Since you talked about musical culture and K-pop and stuff, I'm interested now in knowing what is your kind of music that you prefer, that you like.
Well, growing up, I absolutely loved like 80s hardcore punk rock. So like Black Flag and the Dead Kennedys and the Circle Jerks and Agent Orange and all of those like hardcore bands, like Minor Threat. I was really into those when I was a kid because my brother was really into those. And out of that, and then just generally everything. I really, really enjoy music. There are even some K-pop songs that I dig. They have some very catchy tunes. But what I'm listening to right now is I guess you could classify it as like folk punk. I'm really into this singer-songwriter called Pat the Bunny, who was the front man for this band called Johnny Hobo, I think is what it was called. Ramshackle Glory was another one. I listen to that, but I also listen to like Ace of Base and like rock out in my underwear in my apartment. It's not like one thing that I'm into. I mean, I love the Wu-Tang Clan as well. So I like music if it makes me feel good, or if it matches my mood. I was listening to what was I listening to at work today when I was doing my printing? I was listening to Welcome to Booty Town, for God's sake. So going from hardcore punk rock to that now, it kind of just spans a bunch of stuff.
I'm interested in knowing what are the struggles that you faced in the poetry field and artistic field in general.
The struggles? Oh man. I guess just like getting listened to, getting exposure, quitting a lot, trying to just be honest in what I write. Instead of trying to write what I think will do well, instead of like writing what I want to write. I guess the biggest struggle has been just really understanding what I believe what my values are, how I relate to the world around me, and how to articulate that in an engaging way without being a douche, for one, and also without being so abstract that folks don't understand or lose interest in what I'm saying.
So, and somehow you are taking into consideration your audience, let's say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that as one of my professors said, that clarity is the overriding quality, and communication is what is understood, not what is said. So the burden falls on the person who is communicating. If I'm saying something and someone doesn't understand, that means that I'm not doing a good job. So that has been a difficult thing. I'm just trying to. That's how it's kind of evolved. Like I started out very abstract, almost too abstract for anyone to really understand what the hell I was saying. So I now like decently concrete. I hope it gets more concrete in the future. You know, I hate it when people don't know what I'm talking about, because that means I don't know what I'm talking about. But I don't want to sacrifice like euphony or the music in the way that I'm trying to say things in poems for content, because I'm not like an essayist. And I think it's, you know, I think that's kind of a direction a lot of poets are going in now, is like basically like performing very passionate essays.
I mean, I think this is the same problem for me. It's either I explain too much or not enough, and I'm like this organized person who tries to put everything in place. I'm all over the place, actually.
Yeah, well, it's a struggle, definitely.
Yeah, it is. I'm interested also in knowing how did your performance evolve through time, like from Eugene to Button Poetry, and before that. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, like I said, like from the abstract to the concrete is what people tell me a couple times. I didn't know when you talking stopped and when you starting a poem began, because it was just, I always tried to.
That's true. Actually, I had the same reaction. I have the same remark when I was watching your videos in Eugene's. I mean, you were talking and suddenly you went to the poem, and we can't make any difference between the two.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. That's what I was going for. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're too relaxed. You're like home and stuff. That's great. That's really great. A question from a fan. He's asking, every writer has a specific inspiration. What is yours?
Well, that's assuming
we got a lot of questions about inspiration today.
Assuming that the question asker's premise is true, that every writer has a specific inspiration. Like, do you mean like an influence, like another writer?
Like something happened in your life, like a certain event or certain something.
Oh, just self-reaffirmation that I might be worth something. It's just ego. I think that's what anything. It's just I want to be loved. I want to be heard. Yeah. That's basically as honest as I can be. I honestly think a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to spread awareness about this. And I might, in my head, just be like, oh, whatever. You want to be loved just like the rest of them.
Speaking of love.
Everywhere you go, everyone just wants to connect. They just want to connect.
True.
And I think that kind of is the impetus for most people who want to perform. They just want to connect.
That's true.
They want to communicate something. So I don't know exactly what that might be. Still trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think that's just basically it. It's just you want love, you want approval. Yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you for being honest. That honest.
Oh.
Speaking of love, are you planning on writing a love poem?
I have written tons of love poems. They're just not.
Really?
They're just not on tape. No.
You should perform that. Now I want to read that and I want to watch that.
There's one specific poem that I've been trying to basically figure out a way how to perform it. And it's kind of an unspecific love poem. And I've been excited about it for a really long time, but I I haven't had the space to practice it. I need there's a specific like kind of requirement for it. I just can't quite get it right. But yeah, no, there's been plenty of them.
Yeah, probably everything comes at the time when it's time.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully when you get back. Sorry?
I said there is a season, turn, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully when you get back to New York, you will start filming again, and I will be the first one to watch, and I'll be so excited. Okay, I'm really happy. You are making my month, practically.
Too nice.
So our last question is, which poem means the most to you?
Like one that I've written or one that I've read?
Both, let's say both.
Okay. Man, like the ones that I've written, not like one of them really means the most to me. They all meant the most to me when I wrote them, and then my thoughts about them have changed over time. Man, yeah, I can't really say about the ones that I've done, but I can tell you that there are 5 poems that I love by other poets that
Okay.
have always like held my interest. I can always go back to them. There's always like I have my top 5. I can give you those.
Okay, give me those. It's okay.
The first one is I would say it's Gregory. You know Gregory Corso, who's one of the beat poets. This poem called "For Homer," which I recorded a cover of. It's on my SoundCloud if you want to listen to it. It's about like death and life.
Yeah, I've checked your SoundCloud, by the way, and I love that. I mean, I don't remember what did I listen to, but practically I think I listened to everything. I'm not a stalker. I'm not creepy. Okay, I'm just doing my job.
No, keep listening. Get other people to listen, please.
Of course, yeah.
I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. Yeah. So For Homer would be one of them, and it's about kind of this eternal recurrence that's like both beautiful and sad in life, and the way that he performs it and writes it is gorgeous. There's a Bukowski poem called Dinosauria We, which is it's about how the world is decaying into corruption and dystopia. There's a Dorothy Parker poem called Resume, which always makes me feel good for some reason. It's about like how every method of suicide is such a pain in the ass that it's just a better idea to keep on living, which is darkly humorous and uplifting.
That's a good poem for our listeners who are listening. Don't commit suicide and go read the poem. It will hurt, whatever you do. Okay?
Yeah. There's another poem by a poet named Dana Gioia called Unsaid, and that's all about kind of everything that we kind of keep inside. We keep more inside than we espouse, so people don't really ever know each other because of kind of, what we keep internally. And then there's the poem that I fell in love with in high school was a poem by John Keats, the romantic poet. It's called When I Have Fears. It's this sonnet that kind of laments not being able to say enough before you die.
Amen. I love that sonnet.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, beautiful. I guess there's a common thread for all those things, but those are the ones that I kind of love the most. Those are the most important to me.
Thank you, really. Thank you, Dave, for this interview. It has been really a great pleasure for me personally and for ABP in general. And Hannah, do you want to say anything? Hannah?
Well, I don't have much. I just like to say this was a very interesting interview. I really liked it. David, you seem like a really interesting guy. I kind of like what you do. I've been checking your stuff out while this interview has been going on. It's really cool stuff.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. You very, very lovely people, and I'm glad that you guys are doing this radio show. It's great.
Yeah, we just got a message from someone saying, "Are you going to perform anything before going?"
I honestly, I don't have anything, and I would hate to sour it with a bad performance, especially how much I've enjoyed this interview. So maybe I'll record that love poem and send it on your way.
Okay, that will be awesome. It will be a great pleasure. Really, thank you, Dave, for your time. We know it's late in Korea right now. It's like midnight, almost 1 a.m. And really, really, really thank you for your time. And thank you for this inspiration that you spread all over the place. And thank you for your advice. Thank you.
You're way too kind. It's just my pleasure. I really appreciate it.
So, people, our interview is done. Don't forget to interact with us throughout messages and throughout our Facebook page, Instagram account, and Twitter. Be there for Taboo each Wednesday at 8 p.m. and Kiryada Club each Friday at 10 p.m.
Yeah, make sure to tune in this evening at 10 p.m. to listen to Creative Club.
Okay, yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you again, Dave, and thank you, Hannah, and thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great afternoon. See ya.
Never gonna live if you're too scared to die. I'm so alive, I'm so alive.